and welcome to the first online practicum in the Tara approach. And I want to express incredible gratitude to Corryn, who is in Aotearoa, originally from Wales, who is having the courage, along with me, to transform a process always previously done in person, usually of necessity in community. And as a result of our extraordinary human-created crisis in our world, we have the benefit of our birthright of resilience transmitted through the Tara approach to create a new form. So the new form is virtual. The new form is aiming to transmit the wisdom of the Tara approach that of necessity takes more of a self-care, more of a self-empowering stance of necessity, which is to everyone's benefit. The virtual environment means that participants still get to be in community. That's the blessing. But each individual needs to take responsibility for their own absorption and practice and healthcare, because nobody can do it for you. And that is a boon, actually. And it also amplifies the inherent teaching of the Tara approach, which is sustainable health and healing in community. So the Tara approach is a system designed for grassroots health sustainability. In my delivery of the Tara approach, that is my goal as an embodiment, as a force of the energy of the mother. That is my goal. As Guadalupe speaks through me, you all know she's always here, always close to me, always got my back as a representation of the energy of the mother. Grassroots healthcare, climate justice, racial justice, and women's empowerment are implicit in the Tara approach. So it's beyond simply or grandly the experience of sustainable health. It is global sustainable health and the healing of the world that is quite grand. And it is that healing on not only the emotional level that is taught in webinars where there is discussion about what healing and community is and theories about what healing and community is, it is also on the physical level, and that's very significant. It is ground up in the body. And that aspect enhances the grassroots nature of the system. So I am grateful to Corryn for being willing to demonstrate with me that we can do this in this new era of crisis, which will continue to accelerate. So with that introduction, I want to first let you know that your presence is highly valued here. We have a tight schedule that needs to focus on the practicum itself. And for that reason, the introductions that we would like to have from everyone are going to be very brief, but we want you to say your name and where you are so that you have a voice in this process. So starting with Susan, and then Susan, fortunately, everybody has a name tag in this system. So then pass it to another. Hi, Tracy.
I'm Susan, and I live in Wales. very near the sea in Wales, a very beautiful part of the world, and very happy to be here.
Thank you, Susan. And who would you like to pass the baton to?
To Peter, because on my screen he's below me.
Thank you, Susan. Kia ora koutou, Peter Hurd in Aotearoa, here with you, Corryn. Excited. May, I pass the baton.
May Low. I am in Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm actually American, but living here in Sweden. Pass it to Tong.
Hi, my name is Tong. In Chinese, it means sunshine. I live in Amsterdam, living in Amsterdam since last 29 years. And first 24 years of my life spent, studied, worked in China. Lovely to meet you and be in Corryn's Practicum. Very special for me.
And who do you pass the baton to, Tong?
To Mamta.
Hi, I am Mamta Kumar, and my name Mamta in Hindi, it means affection. And I live in Dallas, Texas in USA. And this is the very first time I'm with Tara Approach, and also it is my very first practicum I'm attending. So I'm very, very excited about it. Thank you.
And who do you pass to?
Okay, so let me see. Okay, let me pass it to Corryn, Grace.
Morena koutou. I'm Corryn, and with Peter, I'm about 20 kilometers away from him in Aotearoa in Taranaki. And I'll pass it on to Satora.
Hi, I'm Satora. I live in Port Townsend in the state of Washington. I've lived in the United States since '98, and I was born and raised in Germany. And I pass it to Tracy.
Hello, I'm Tracy, and I live in the north of Scotland.
Great to see you, Tracy.
Good to see you as well. And I pass it to Fabi.
Hi, I'm Fabi, and I am from Chile. Thank you, Corryn and Steph.
So I would like to say just briefly something about the practicum itself. And then I'm going to introduce Corryn. And Corryn is going to lead us through what has become an essential part, particularly in these online gatherings of Tara programs, which is a somatic attunement or exercise that allows us to experience the Tara approach somatically and simultaneously always gets us off to a really good start. So I already indicated how much gratitude I feel for Corryn in her willingness to be the first person to have her practicum online, which will be the way that we will do practicums for as long as we're in this situation. But I also wanted to say that Corryn was in the first iteration of the women's empowerment programs that have now evolved into the collaborations I'm doing with Dr. Spring Cheng. But the very first iteration of this concept that I was manifesting that was inspired by Project Drawdown, which you may want to familiarize yourself with if you are interested in options for how to address the climate crisis. So Project Drawdown identifies the quantitative results of women being in leadership positions. And that quantitative results reflect carbon being drawn down and restored into the earth where it belongs. I believe there is actually a Maori wisdom that what comes from the earth must return to the earth. And this is true with carbon. There's been so much extraction. So Project Drawdown identifies 100 ways that carbon can be restored. So it's not about making up for the lost carbon, it's about bringing it back. And those 100 items are in orders of magnitude, and women's leadership is number 6. It's the 6th most important in terms of numbers way to restore carbon. And looking at the various items on that list, the women's empowerment really inspired me because I knew I could be a force in that, and I always have been a force in that, but prioritizing it took off in me like a lightning bolt. And the first program where I manifested that was in Aotearoa, and Corryn was in that program. And so I like to think that there is a relationship between what's happening here today and that participation. Corryn has jumped in fully into this process of developing her Tara approach skills and really immersed herself in it in less than a year. And it's very unusual for someone to be ready for the practicum in less than a year. But because, number one, she brings to the process such a dedication in healing with plants has been really her nature. And she is correlating the plant medicine that she learned from an esteemed teacher in Aotearoa, an esteemed Maori teacher, Aunt Olive, transmitted to Corryn the plant medicine that she teaches and uses, and which she is now fusing with the Tara approach, which is just an enormous blessing. And she shared with me some of the writing that she's done out of the transmission from the plants about the Tara flows. And even in speaking of this, I cannot tell you the magnitude of somatic gratitude that I feel head to toe, just knowing that this precious wisdom from the esteemed Auntie Olive coming through Corryn, who is her disciple, who had, Auntie Olive is now an ancestor, and Corryn is the one designated to transmit this wisdom. And the fact that this is now aligned with the Tara approach is enormously fulfilling. It represents a fusion of global sustainable health. So that's my introduction to Corryn. And I'll say a little bit more about the practicum after the attunement.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I'm just wondering if it's best to do the attunement now, or to just introduce myself so you get a bit more of an idea of, after that lovely introduction that Stephanie very graciously gave to me. I don't know about anybody else, but we would hardly ever talk about ourselves in that way, or I would never talk about myself in that way. So thank you, Stephanie, and thank you for the opportunity to have this. When I first spoke to Stephanie, when she offered the practicum, we sort of came into agreement about it, really had no idea how it was going to manifest. It's a very, very different experience doing this with Zoom rather than having someone in front of me. So I've worked with a lot of people on the table and in workshops, but never in this forum other than just being a student, just being able to absorb all the information. So I'm really excited to see how this works actually, and to hopefully support and guide others who come into this line of alignment too. So I will just tell you a little bit about myself before we do the attunement. I sound quite English, but when I go back home I sound very Welsh, so I start going into my other accent. But for now, I'll just do my normal one. So I was brought up in mid Wales, and I spent a lot of time with my grandmother growing up. And I was really lucky because I was brought up in what they call the old Welsh way. So it was always full of magic. There was always, the nature was part of you and you were part of nature. So the trees had Māori, they call it a Maori, they were an ihi, they have a life force. And when you step forward to that life force, we were taught, or I was taught to greet that tree, greet the spirit of that plant, so that we could connect with it, because they are our cousins. All the plants, they are our older cousins who are there to teach us, which is why they're so beautifully patient with them, even though we cut them down and burn them. They are here to teach us. So I'm incredibly grateful to have that as part of my growing up and connection to the earth. So I came to Aotearoa when I was about 20, after traveling around for a few years. And I had always practiced plant medicine in different forms, usually just talking to them and sitting with them. And when I came here, I was drawn to come to Taranaki when I was about 24. And there I met Auntie Olive. And a similar experience happened when I first met Stephanie to Auntie Olive. I had this download of, this is what you'll be doing in the future. And never would I expect that I would actually be doing that. And the first time I met Olive, I was told, well, she's going to become your mother-in-law and you're going to be living with her in 2 months and you're going to be immersed within Māori rongoa medicine. And the similar thing happened with Stephanie. I called for a teacher about this time last year to come into my life to enhance and put me on another step into the journey with my relationship with plants. And then I'd heard Stephanie's name around a little bit, but never thought that anything would come of it. And then when she came into my sphere, it was like another download of a doorway opening. So I'm very grateful for you coming into that sphere, Stephanie, and enhancing this beautiful journey we call life. So my introduction to the Tara was, as Stephanie said, through the women's empowerment, but it actually came through a crisis. I was about to come along to the festival that Peter Hurd organized, the Summer Breeze Festival, which isn't too far away from where I live. And he said, come on board and do a small workshop and offer romi and traditional Māori medicine. I thought, yes, absolutely fine, no problem. And then as the time came to that, my body and my somatic response to actually putting myself out there, which has been a pattern, which is thankfully starting to deplete now. I rang Stephanie and said, I can't walk. My sciatic pain had become so intense that actually I was very, very debilitated. 2 days before the Summer Breeze Festival, I was meant to be doing workshops. And so I was lying on my bed. I had Stephanie on my phone, on speaker, piled up with pillows going, what can I do? And she took me through very much, perhaps a little bit like what we might be doing here, by phone, without being able to see me, a self-care crisis response to my body's memory of trauma. And I saw her again the night before the festival, and I repeated this flow on myself, which is where the real transformation comes from, I believe. And I was able to do the workshop. I wasn't 100%, but I was closer to it than if I had just left it. It was I'm sorry, Peter, I can't come to this festival at all. So my experience in that self-care transformation really was gnosis. It was understanding and knowing that this works in my body. And the response I had was so quick and so profound at a deep level that I could take my mind out of it and just let my body do what it needs to do to heal. So I was pretty much 100% in at that point. And I just let the energy flow. So whatever came next, I was open to it. And then Stephanie said, come along to the Women's Empowerment program, which is the Project Drawdown, sorry. And that was, again, a very natural but transformational process of finding what leadership is within us. And it is self-healing. It is finding your voice in a place where normally you wouldn't have ever stepped into without the support and pushing and shoving from others. It's about courageously putting your own step forward, which is what I believe the Tara approach can give you. So I did that for 3 days, 2 days, sorry, is it 2, 3, something like that. 3 days, thank you, with another group of women. And that's where I went through my first rediscovery. Again, quite different to this. I have done a lot of Hikoi Munmaya, which is the walking in the dream time, or shamanic journeying, other forms of it. But this was a natural integration of those Hikoi Munmaya that I had done. With what I liked about it was the conscious application of the understanding of the Trinity that comes within a rediscovery. So the child, the witness, and that mother-father figure. So because my mind is very curious, I really, really loved all that stuff. I could really apply it fully embodiment with my mind and my body working together, understanding more and more, and really to be of service, because that's kind of why we do this. Well, for me, that's why I do this work. My service is to plant, to spirits, and to the earth. So after that, lockdown happened, and I saw the first foundations on the Huirangi, which is the sky meetings in Māori. And I did my first foundations in end of March, April this year. And I have just completed my second foundation back 12, 14 hours ago. And here we are. So I feel really privileged to be on this journey. It is a lifetime of work. And the more that I have discovered what plants have to share, I'm looking that way because the plants are right there at my window. The more I discover what the world has to give, I feel like I'm more of a kindergarten student. So I'm really, really grateful to you all being here in community of support for this very different and experimental day today. Thank you. So with that, I'm going to take us through an attunement. This one came to me yesterday. That does seem to happen a bit for me. I'm sure it does for other facilitators too, that you're thinking about an attunement and suddenly an opportunity comes up to actually process it with everyone else. So I'm going to take us through an attunement that helps to clear our minds, relieves mental tension, brings us into the present moment here. We're working with the wood and earth elements. So the wood is to do with the face, the mental capacity to absorb, to take in, so it becomes clear so that we can all be present here. As much as for myself as anybody else, I really need it this morning. So if we're going to be putting our hands onto the point 4, and I'm presuming that everyone has had some experience with Tara approach here. I don't know if there's anybody who hasn't, but the point 4s are the 2 lumps that you can feel on the base of your skull, your occipital. And when we put our hands straight across them, we are touching both of them. And this is the wood element. It's an ascending flow, so it comes up the back. And this draws in all that beautiful lubrication that helps to clarify and create space coming up into the cortex, the cerebrums of our brain. So holding those 2, and with our other hand, we're going to place them on the front of our forehead. And when we do this, we're touching point 20. The point 20, is it the conscious awakening, I believe it's called. So we're actually touching the shamanic gateway, which is that number 4, and the conscious awakening, which is the 20. Now, I ask you just to breathe into those points. The point 20 is descending, so we're creating that beautiful flow that helps mental tension. It calms the mind. It's also a pain reliever. I use this one sometimes. And it comes up through working with the face and the liver, small intestine, meridian, bladder. We're really reaching multiple organs with this at the same time. And as we have our hands there, be aware that we're bringing whatever's lying in the unconscious into our conscious focus, to be able to understand it more fully, to allow space, so we can see it with clarity and perception. And it creates resiliency, so that we can go forward with a clear mind, literally a clear mind with these 2 points. We're going to breathe into these points. If you can visualize that beautiful ascending energy coming up your back through those 2 points, those points 4 on the back of your head, and then coming down the front of your body over your forehead, like a gentle wash, a gentle cleanse of energy, clearing, calming, bringing perception and clarity to your day, to this moment. Just breathe into those points of energy. And as we start to feel that energy integrating, coming up our body and down our front, we'd like to anchor this point into the earth. And there's a point on the bottom of your foot. So if you've got your feet planted on the ground, sitting or standing, underneath the paddy part of your foot, underneath your big toe, there's a point 6 there. And we don't need to press it, but we can just drop our consciousness into that point underneath the pad of our we'll go for our left toe. So underneath the pad of the left foot, underneath the big toe, there's point 6. And we bring our mind into that point. And as we feel this ascending flow at the back of our body and descending, coming down the front, feel that energy being anchored into that point 6 underneath the left foot, taken into the earth, to completely ground us in our clarity and perception, to feel the fluidity of that fluid that comes up our spine, creates movement, invigorates us to see with perception. Just breathe into that anchoring, this movement of clarity. Take a few moments to sit and feel the sensations in your body, if any. And when you feel ready, bring your arms down to your side and open your eyes slowly. Just take a nice deep breath in for your body to fully integrate the changes that may have just happened, or the clarity that may have just been released. Take a moment to honor how your body responded to that. So that attunement, again, as I was saying, works with the wood and earth element. The wood element is very sustaining for the mind, good for overthinkers. It really helps to work with all junctures of the face and jaw. Anything to do with the mental capacity and calmness that we need. And the earth, which helps the wood element actually. The earth is a really good resource element, a backup support for the wood, because it helps to ground us. Everybody back? Yes, they are. Great. We got a moment just to say how that was for anybody. If anybody wants to volunteer an experience, you're more than welcome. You also don't have to, there's no pressure. Are we all so calm that everyone is in Zen? Okay.
Well, this is in many ways already the practicum. The purpose of the practicum is to allow those who feel that Tara is on their path, as Corryn has described her own experience, to reveal that skillfulness and that capacity in a setting that provides feedback, that allows the leadership and empowerment of that individual to evolve and develop and serve. And of course, as the founder of the Tara approach, I'm functioning as a companion, a mentor, to provide structure and orientation, boundary and clarity about Tara's particular contribution, which includes the sacred sites and how they are assembled and the functions of the rivers of splendor that were transmitted to me by Mary Eno Burmeister, very much in the way that Auntie Olive transmitted plant wisdom to Corryn as a sacred transmission meant to be shared with others. The Tara approach, as Corryn has said, also includes the understanding of development in the entire scope of human incarnation. So one of the contributions of the Tara approach is the understanding that the map of the sacred sites and the various ways in which they're assembled reflect support for revivifying our birthright of resilience through the extraordinary meridians, the rivers of splendor, that form prenatally. So these are bioelectrical channels, conduits, which are our birthright. Just as your lungs, your arteries, your stomach, your digestive system are your birthright, so are these channels. And these channels, just like your other structures, suffer from the traumas, the shocks, the burdens of incarnation. The message of the rivers of splendor is that their integrity can always be reconstituted. And the Jinshin material, I came to understand, contains the recipes for that reconstitution. So quite a miraculous transmission meant for all of humanity. It arose in terms of its delivery in current time in Japan, but Mary always made it completely clear that this was universal. It is meant for everyone. It is not a Japanese system. Its location for various circumstances in this moment in time was in Japan. But this is not the first incarnation of this system. And Mary was explicit repeatedly. This is meant for all humanity. So in the TAR approach, I, as a neuroscientist understanding neurodevelopment, created structures that allow us not only through the energy medicine reconstruction, but also through our consciousness to recover the holograms that represent the damages to these structures and reconstitute them. So that's what makes the TAR approach unique. So in the practicum, the individual shares their skill development with an individual, and I observe, but the whole community is meant to observe. And in fact, I want to say that healing in community at this grassroots level is the beloved community the entire world is longing for. It is through healing in community and healing globally as community that we can turn this downward spiral around. So each one of us, as we evolve, as we participate even in someone else's evolution, we are sending a love letter to the Mother Earth. So Corryn is going to help someone send their love letter to our Mother Earth, support that process as is needed for that individual. We're all going to support the process. We are free to ask questions. I am definitely here to witness my students and provide suggestions if needed, or as I will do for the attunement, which was never part of a practicum before, but I think from now on in this format, the attunement is going to be part of the practicum. So if I add that, I have actually an evaluation sheet. I approached this as an academic. So I have an evaluation sheet for the practicum, but I have to add in now the attunement because that seems essential in this technology. And from that standpoint, Corryn, you scored 100 on the attunement. So I have your names here on little pieces of paper. I'm going to pick a name, make sure, because a couple of people came on afterwards, so I want to be sure their names are in here. I'll pick a name. You are free to say no if your name is picked. But the idea is that the person who is selected randomly becomes the recipient, but everyone is a participant. Healing in community is for everyone. You are all here quite specifically for whatever is about to unfold. So again, if I call your name out and you don't feel that sits right with you, no problem. Just say no and I'll pick another name. And then I'll just turn it over to Corryn.
Stephanie, do people want to take a bio break, like a quick break to go to the bathroom or toilet before we set in?
Thank you for mentioning that. You certainly, I want to say, just because of our what we want to cover in the time available, feel free to take your bio break anytime you want to. Just put on your mute. You can close your video if you want. Just go ahead and take your bio break whenever you need it. That includes you, Corryn. I'm making my short list because there's a lot of requests from the names. Okay, I'm shortlisting. That made it easier, good. So, May.
I think she's just on a
Oh, she went to the loo, okay.
Toilet break.
Great. This will be a great time to see if there's any questions or comments. Any requests? Any updates from where you are in the world that you'd like to share? I'm so excited to see people here who I haven't seen in quite a while. Tracy being one of them. What a treat to see you.
Corryn, I feel really more awake now in my mind. Thank you. I came here very sleepily. I feel like I've been up for a couple of hours now, in a good way.
Cool. Thank you, Peter, for coming here too. Appreciate your support.
So
May,
excited.
your name was selected for we don't know that there'll be a rediscovery. The rediscovery is the simple construct I've created for accessing those holograms that historically are kind of like the snags in your fabric, you might say, the places where your unfolding is been caught. So embryogenesis or human development from the moment of conception to the moment of death. So this folding and unfolding process doesn't stop when you're a big person. It keeps on occurring throughout life. So if you think of it as a fabric that folds and unfolds, in the developmental cycles, that fabric gets caught by a trauma. Or you can think of it also, you know, like if you're a kayaker, you know, you get caught in an eddy, or you get caught, you get snagged by a swirl, or snagged by where the water is too shallow or static. So those snags keep you from going forward to your destination. And the rediscovery template allows you to identify those snags, and those snags are always holograms. They always represent patterns of snagging. So when you resolve them in this context, you resolve all of them simultaneously. So it's quite efficient. So May, how do you feel about being the recipient of Corryn's Practicum?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, but you know, I want to be part of Corryn's Practicum.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
But I am nervous, I have to say.
Me too.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of, yeah. almost feel like a little bit of wanting to run away too, but okay, but I'll do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we want to pay some attention to time here, Corryn, together, and I'll do my best to be supportive there. And approximately, más o menos, 50 minutes, let's say, so that we have some time to debrief and respond and get questions. But over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, May. I've just been on the foundations with May, so we have had a community of connection in the last couple of days. So thank you for being courageous in this spot too, May. It can feel, it may feel a little bit overwhelming to start with, so I hear you and I understand where that may be coming from, considering that I wanted to run away yesterday as well, very, very strongly. So it's doubly courageous for you to accept this, because it is a learning forum. And as I spoke with Stephanie a little bit, there's going to be some interaction potentially between her and I, and sort of some discussion. So even though I will be concentrating on this healing journey with you, I just wanted to be aware that there may be some Stephanie's voice coming in at times for the benefit of you. So if there's questions that I might have as well to serve you better, I'll be asking Stephanie those as well as we go through. Is that about right, Stephanie?
Beautiful. Well said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to be aware of that. So to give you an option if you wanted to run away, just so you know what you're getting into on that. But thank you very much. So what I'm thinking, May, is because I know you a little bit so far, I'm just going to first get you to just soften your eyes for me. You can either close them or just drop them so they're gazing at a point somewhere near your feet or the floor. And we'll take a nice deep breath in for me. In through your nose, all the way down into your stomach. In Māori, we call this the puku, or the whare tangata. It is the place of creation, all the way down into your stomach. And breathe out through your mouth. And then the next breath, as you continue to breathe in through your nose, just see how that breath deepens, perhaps into a slightly deeper level, into that creation space in the bottom of your stomach. And breathe out. As you take another deep breath in through your nose, go further into the deep creation point that is you. And in that space, I want to give you the opportunity, if something an issue is coming up for you, some thoughts, maybe your emotions, just allow those to come up to the surface a little. Not so they overwhelm, but just so that you can notice them. And in that noticing, if you feel ready to just say what is coming up for you, any thoughts or pressing concerns. It's also okay if there isn't, if there are no thoughts and your mind is feeling clear.
No, I don't know. I have this emotion of like, sort of, I don't know if it's because I'm selected, but also this fear or this frightening feeling. I don't know, just overwhelming me.
So where in your body are you feeling that, May?
like my hands and sort of my upper body.
Okay. And is there a sensation associated with that feeling of a little bit frightened and overwhelmed?
Yeah, almost like numbing.
Numbing.
My hands, like my arms.
Okay. So with that frightening and numbing and a little bit overwhelming, is this something that you felt before in a circumstance like this? Or any other time in your life? Just take your time. Know that you're in a safe space and nothing is going to externally affect you. As you breathe space into that feeling of overwhelming. If emotions are coming up, just let them flow. You're doing really, really great. As a community, if we could just support May, taking a deep breath and knowing that you have all our support, May, in this release, in these feelings that are coming up in your body for you. That are so ready in this supportive space to be released. Perfect, you're doing really well. So Maya, I just want you to drop into your body and just explain, if you can, in your own words, where that emotion, where those tears, what part of your body are they coming from? And it may be helpful for you at this point to, if you feel you want to, open your eyes and just make contact, eye contact, to see the support and strength of community that you have here. So where in your body May, are you feeling experiences right now?
Yeah, it's, I don't know, it just all came up, and yeah, I feel it was nice to release all those emotions. It was like it's
Yeah.
been
Go on.
for a long time.
So if those beautiful tears that you have just expressed, if they had words, what would they be saying to you or to us?
It's okay. Or let it go.
Beautiful. It's okay. Just let it go. What do you think those words are trying to tell you to let go of?
I think a bit of anger or sadness of my parents, maybe. That, I don't know, that I wasn't taken care of, perhaps, as a child. And I've had to take care of myself, I felt like, since I was 4 or 3. So, yeah, so I have a hard time like letting my emotions come out, and it's been sort of suppressed. It's always like, I need to be strong, because I need to take care of myself. So I feel heavy and a bit angry and a bit sad. Like that.
Well done on expressing that. It's a really, it's a leap to make that step into courage, to even voice something like that. So I just want you to acknowledge and honor the step that you've just taken in expressing those beautiful words of feeling like you have to do everything. You have to take care of yourself.
Okay.
I'm wondering, May, if you'd like to go through a flow that would help, especially with those connections of relationship, of feeling like you have to look after yourself. How would that feel to you?
Yeah, it sounds good.
So this flow is associated with the fire element, which is something that I felt right at the beginning when you were talking about that overwhelming, frightening fear, and it was like a ball coming up. I feel that a flow would be really good to help bring that into self-acceptance of who you are. Does that feel okay for us to do here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is me. because of the nature of this, we're going to do the first 2 points of this flow, May, and then the last point. This flow really helps to, it's designed to encourage us to love ourselves more fully, to complete self-acceptance. So with your left hand, you're going to touch site 26, which is that one underneath the armpit, or just on the side of the armpit here. Have you got that?
Yes.
I'm going to do that one. And then, actually, Stephanie, how do you do the, excuse me, May, the little finger? Can you just do the palm inju?
Yes, that's what I always do, is you do it as an inju. So you hold the 26, inju meaning mudra also, and the 26 with the same side, little finger, is the beginning of the 26 flow, which is the flow for total and complete self-acceptance.
Thank you. So May, I just want you to hold those points. I'm going to just ask you to just drop your eyes down gently again. And I just want you to feel your touch on those points on your body. The 26 is completion, it is self-love. It's like giving ourselves a big cuddle, a big hug. And the little finger, the palm inju, where you're touching on your little finger, is to do with the fire. Who you are, your purpose, your belonging here. If you can, just drop your mind into those points. Feel that self-love, the creativity, the individuality, that you are supported. Breathe into those points. If you choose to, you can add your breath by breathing more energy into those points. Beautiful. And with that, you are giving yourself the breath of energy, enhancing that self-love. When you feel ready, May, after you feel that your body has responded to those beautiful points on your body of self-love, of creativity and individuality, of who you are, I'd like you to move your right hand down to point 15. And that point 15 is on the pubic bone, the V that goes in to the top of our leg. Thank you, Stephanie. just in there. Just move your right hand, and you can, well, actually you can keep your hand at left 16 because that is the first and last position of that flow. So just put your right hand down to that point 15. And this is bringing in immense joy. This point is wash your heart with laughter, bringing joy to the self-love, to the completion of who you are. And just experience what this flow brings to you, the feelings that it brings to your body. The compassion and completion of who you are. Breathe in, nice deep breath. Lovely. Breathe it into your body, into these points, nurturing and supporting the work that your body is doing right now to help you move, to help you realize the self-love. Take another nice deep breath in, May. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and just sit. You can bring your arms down if you like, back to neutral position. And actually, if you're sitting there, just while I'm going to be asking you a few things, you can just put your hands on the high ones, which is just on your thighs, on your legs. Stephanie's going to do that again for me. Okay. You can just rest your thumb. It's usually where your thumb or your ring or middle finger just touch on the other side of the leg.
Okay.
And just while I'm talking to you, that is giving you support. They are confident. They are strong legs to move forward with. Those points really help to integrate and support the flows that have just happened. So how are you feeling, May, in your body?
Yeah, it feels strange because I feel like it's just like everything is released and I feel so light and free and yeah, it's really, I feel great. Thank you.
That's great. Okay. So can you describe a sensation that's in your body? Does it feel, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm thinking of suggestions, light, spacey.
Yeah, exactly. Open. Yeah, definitely light. And yeah, I feel a lot of space, yes, than before, where felt constricted or I don't know, tight. So it's a really, like, I feel like I have room now to breathe.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's really a nice feeling.
Good. What we're going to do, I think, just to, because sometimes we're going to ground some of that spaciness so you can fully feel that through your body, is the palm inju. And it is the one that you hold with all your pads and your fingertips as much as your hand that you can touch together. As much. And we're going to hold that above the 13s, which is just in this part. You can see just in this part of the body, in the center. I'm going to hold that in the middle there. And that palm inju integrates and embodies the ground and earth element. Helps you step forward. And where we have that palm inju sitting on our 13, that is the position of the mother, the great mother. Similar to the main central vertical flow, it brings us back into center and alignment with our full embodied experience in this life. It honors the journey that you've just been through, the release. It helps to bring that back so you can fully feel it and integrate it. This palm inju also brings in all the elements together. The earth, air, metal, water, air, fire. It helps to ground all those elements that are within all of us into a grounding space. Breathe in that embodiment and full grounding, May, in honor of your journey, in honor of who you are. That strong, resilient little girl who had to look after herself has everything she needs. When you feel ready, May, come back to opening your eyes. Noticing everyone that is here with you. So can you describe to me, May, those sensations now that are going through your body? Does it feel still spacey, or does it feel different? Or
yeah, I just feels like energy is flowing. I feel refreshed and just, yeah, really nice.
That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. For you, going forward, I'm thinking of some self-care for you going forward. The main central vertical flow is going to be an amazing ally for you, I feel. It will help to link you in with your true core so that you don't, those feelings of depletion and having to look after yourself will really bring you into alignment. It will help you fully see and feel who you are. You're belonging here, And in that, identity and differentiation from others, so that you can create your own space going forward. So the main central vertical flow will give you inundated insights into your further journey. I really feel that. Would you agree, Stephanie?
Yes, most definitely. That main central vertical flow is remarkable, really, in giving us this, exactly what you described, Corryn, this sense of not being alone, but being who you really are in that uniqueness and being accompanied. And that's that alignment. It's somewhat difficult to describe. It is a remarkable breakthrough in life, no matter what history you have, when you realize the purposefulness of your path and your incarnation, and that you are not alone in it, that you are aligned spiritually with forces that are very intimate and that know you. It's very hard to transmit into language, but it is imparted by the main central vertical flow, which translates as, I am the divine being, the divine presence, the divine essence. That is who I am in the honorific center of the universe. So wherever you are, you're in the center of the universe through your divine being. And that's the message of that flow. And it communicates to you no matter what's going on. And the more you do it, the more you retain that as your personal truth.
I'm also thinking for you, May, that something that would help support you further is actually looking at the second depth, which is the air element, which helps when there's feelings of sadness, especially when we haven't felt complete, especially in relationships, and those feelings of loss, and sometimes abandonment, if lesser or greater degrees. I'm feeling that element as well will really help you to go forward with the main central vertical flow. I think those two together would bring a lot of benefit for you. If I was, if I were you, that's what I would be doing myself, of which actually I do some of those anyway. But the second depth is to do with the air element. It's the lung, intestine. I have found it really beneficial when it's been those feelings of being left out by yourself, but wanting that connection, really yearning for that connection with others, but knowing that we have it within ourselves, which is what the main central vertical flow will support it further to be integrated for you. How do those two sound?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Lovely.
I have to find you again. There you are.
Yes, people keep bouncing around. So let's bring this segment of the practicum to the next level. Well done, both of you. And let's take a moment, if you can, May. I know this is a quick turnaround, but you've had the little time here for grounding, and I wonder if you could just give Corryn some feedback about how you experienced her interventions in this process.
Yeah, I thought, I guess especially in the beginning when I was feeling all the emotions, I think it was nice and I mean, you really helped guide me, and I felt safe, and supported. So, and it was nice to you know, you were walking me through the breathing and everything, and you know, sort of pausing when I was a bit overwhelmed with just emotions, and I thought it was really nice. I felt, and you have a very calming voice too for me, so it's just, yeah, it was really nice. I thought that was a really good journey with you. And
So the spaces around your feeling, when, especially because you felt overwhelmed at moments, that was helpful to you to have the spaciousness to just be with that experience. Is that what you're saying? Is that accurate?
yeah, to just let me feel those senses, because to let it out, and I don't know, yeah, I think Corryn sort of knew what I was feeling, or the emotions, or so I think she let me sort of let it out, released it, and instead of maybe trying to get more stuff out, or I think you let me just have the emotions come out, versus maybe getting deeper into something else, which, yeah, I thought that was really good for me.
Beautiful. Yeah. So rather than feeling like you were being analyzed or somebody was trying to figure out what was going on, you simply had the space to be with what was occurring for you, and at the same time feel accompanied in that. Is that accurate? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then I think the flows really that you chose really also helped, and it felt really good. I feel great right now. So I'm very grateful and for this experience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, May.
And Corryn, I'm wondering if, I know you're still kind of in the process here, and with all of its qualities, but I wonder if you could have a sense of, how do you evaluate yourself? What's your feeling of this healing session and your facilitation of it? If you were a witness to yourself, you know, in retrospect, or even following the sensations in your body, what's your sense of yourself? How do you feel about this experience if you were evaluating yourself?
Yeah, an evaluation, there were, the space was something to me that I felt very important through the process. And through my mind, if I was an observer of my mind as well as my body, there were lots of things going on about what I wanted to, that could potentially come out to help May, but the resistance was, it needs to be peaceful right now. So my mind was churning, but I was also trying to stay present and focused with May, to let that come out. Which, if I was observing myself, I potentially would have perhaps looked at a flow a little bit earlier on, but at the same time I was trying to figure out which would be the best route, because about 5 or 6 ones were appearing in my mind, and trying to figure out what was best for May. So really having to come back and link into May, to feel what she was feeling, which is why I actually did I started doing the flows with you. And that helped to really link in with your experience of it. And so that helped me to visualize what breath you need to take at what point, and then work with you a lot more. So it was an interesting process because I had all these routes and rivers of avenues to go down, but also knowing that it was good to stay present and soft, and your processing time, May, is what I really felt.
Beautiful, beautiful. And really what you're describing here, Corryn, is, I would say, an evolved way of engaging as a facilitator, which I identify with this sense of lots of ideas or images even come forward. And some of those images are from the attunement with the recipient, but other images or other ideas are coming from your mind.
Yeah.
And the way that you can anchor all of that and sort all of that is to orient towards the recipient, orient towards the person in who you are serving, because they're the ones that are leading the session. You're just a mirror. And yes, the ideas that you're getting are reflective of what you've learned, but the one who sorts what you've learned to see what they need from that medicine bag is the recipient. So you're always following the recipient. It looks like you're in charge because you're the facilitator of the session, but actually the recipient is always in charge. So that perspective is one that is what I put forth really in Torah practitioners, that what they say and what they do comes actually from the recipient. And it's our job to be able to attune and use the resources that we have to meet what they are requesting. And pacing, I would say always, but I would say in this instance, pacing was absolutely critical. That the pacing be matched, be alongside instead of ahead of, or even behind, alongside May. And in fact, in some ways that kind of sums up the whole session, is the need for that, the need to be accompanied alongside at the pace, May's pace.
Yeah.
So that relational style from a neurodevelopmental standpoint is enormously healing even without any language. So that was really, really well done. And I would say from my perspective, overall, it was really, really well done. Both of you. I have the privilege of having spent the last amount of time. There's been two levels of the foundations that May has been in. So I've had a chance to be with her. So I have some perspective, and I would say this was really a beautiful culmination in many ways of what emerged over this time. And there's an image that I have that I think meets the elements that came up, which were the air element and the fire element. And the image I have is of a bellows perfectly titrated to May's fire energy. And the bellows is going to infuse that fire that is unique to May at just the right rhythms that will allow the unique fire that is May to rise up, because it's been a little bit smoldering in the ashes, and ashes kind of represents not only fire but also air that needs to be let go of, and out of those ashes the fire is rising with just the right amount of bellow strength, the air element. So that really elementally sums up the way that this session replicates nature in balance. So the one thing I would like to suggest, Corryn, two things. One is you use this phrase, and I've heard you use it before, but I hadn't heard it in a long time, but you used it a couple of times here where you said, take a nice deep breath for me. I would eliminate the for me.
Yeah.
It's something that nurses do, you know? I don't know if you, I was just had to be with my mom in hospital. So I watched it all happen where the nurse says, turn over for me, would you? You know, it's like, what are you talking about? Why is this for you or is this for my mom? You know? So I would just.
Yeah, it was, no, absolutely. It's fantastic. It's actually a fire olive phrase. And it usually happened when we do realignments. And she was a very highly qualified nurse.
Yes, yes.
The language has come from. But yeah, I agree completely.
And you've totally and completely, you know, aced the practicum. So no worries there. But I would, as we proceed forward, as I know we are going to, I would love to also support you amplifying your language range in terms of asking stimulating questions. Just create a little bit more flexibility and option there. But that's it's a minor thing.
The Tara approach has really extended or challenged and opened up a new language for me, because usually my practice outside of this has always been quite silent. It's been a silent experience in lots of capacity. So it's good because it's challenging me to use my voice more. So I realize it's an area that I need to keep developing on through the Tara.
Yeah, and this is the Tara approach, I think for many people is an edge in that way, because, you know, the interface between Tara and body work, for instance, you know, body work frequently done in a very silent context, and the silence, as we saw in this beautiful session with May, is very useful. That being able to use silence in the pacing is helpful, but silence as a rule is not necessarily always serving the highest purpose. And language, when it is attuned, as I said, aligned with what you're resonating with in the recipient, has to be educated, you might say, or skillful. And Joan has a comment she wants to make. Thank you, Joan. We'd love to hear from you, because that's the next piece. I'd like to invite others to express their response to this incredible practicum. Yes, Joan.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you. You're unmuted, and I love that you're with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a wonderful session. Thank you very much, Corryn. And I loved your very measured way of taking Mei Lee through that treatment. Your voice is very calm and very gentle. Thank you for that. And Mei Lee,
Mei-Lo.
Mei-Lo, my apologies, Mei-Lo. I couldn't help but be taken aback by how much your face had changed during that treatment, in that it became much more animated, almost as if you had allowed it to become animated, and it was beautifully expressing who you are. And I just have one question of May. Early on in your treatment, I had a very physical response to the whole interchange between the two of you, and I had a feeling of regurgitation, and I just wonder if that has any significance for you, May.
Like if I experience that too, or
yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I just felt like at that moment, like a ball of fire or something was rising. So it was just coming from my stomach and or my heart, like just my upper body, just like going up, and it was very strong and nothing I had experienced before that deep inside. Those were kind of the emotions or feeling that I had.
It was that upward feeling that I resonated with you. Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, yeah. Thank you.
Is there anything more you wanted to say, Joan?
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Lovely to hear your voice. And this is a time when anyone in the group is welcome to give their feedback in terms of what was your experience observing this. Questions, comments, anything you want to say is welcome. Even just your observation, your doubts, information you might want. Comments for Corryn, I think, as Joan modeled so beautifully, letting Corryn know what you observed that she was doing that was so effective, like the measured pacing that's come up now several times. That is really an important observation, the pacing and the kind of shape-shifting that the practitioner goes through, this process of attuning to the recipient, whether you're doing that in a session or as a teacher, you know, how you shape-shift yourself in order to meet what will serve the collective or the individual is the way in which the practitioner evolves, actually, evolves their consciousness. As you begin to let go of your own pacing, not completely, because your own pacing is a gift to the others, but you have to modulate that according to the window of tolerance of the person that you're serving or the collective that you're serving.
Corryn, I'd love to haka to you, and there's a house full of sleeping people here in my house, so I'm not going to do that, but I would love for you to visualize that I am doing a haka to you, loudly and strongly and clearly, and in honor of you stepping into this, stepping forward when it's been a theme that stepping forward and being seen has been challenging, and it's been amplified in this environment of the first time to do this in this way. And in particular, the session that you had with May was very, you really had to hold back a lot in your stepping forward. It required so much spaciousness when there was so much going on inside your head. So there's a really big, loud haka saying, yes, Corryn, so proud of you. I love how you did that. I love that you're doing this work, and it's such a privilege to have you in the Tara family, and what you bring to it is really deep, and how you come to it seems really deep. You seem to be able to really tap in, and so I see you and I celebrate you. Haka, haka, haka.
Maybe you could, some people might not know what a haka is, possibly. Yeah. So maybe you could say what a haka is and what you mean by that.
So a haka is one of the most powerful ways I've experienced of communicating in the Māori culture, which involves song, words, and movements. And the haka that I'm called, and so often hakas will just happen spontaneously in situations, but sometimes they're also particular parts of protocol within Māori culture And the spontaneous haka often comes out when someone's wants to acknowledge strongly and deeply what's happened for somebody. For instance, it might be at a university graduation, you know, people are politely clapping, and most of the white culture here will politely clapping. Maybe they'll go, woohoo! And then somebody who's got some Māori people in their field will come up to receive their thing, and 10 or 20 people might stand up and do a really loud, strong haka, which is resonating with, you know, what this person has gone through and what they've achieved and where they're at. That's what would be how I would describe the haka.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this leads to this whole sustainable health that I've been talking about, because sustainable health in a community is attuned to the culture, and it really adds to the healing dynamic enormously. I was doing a session in Aotearoa in a collective situation, and a woman revealed for the first time a sexual assault situation that had happened for her, and the men in the group all got up immediately and did a haka in her defense, and no word said to her, just the haka by the men, and these were really hunky men, and the message to her was, we'll never let this happen again. We are protecting you. And that was, as an intervention, a cultural intervention. And I want to harvest those. That's what I'm storing in the Cultural Library of Sustainable Health Resources, how in healing in community, in a culturally sensitive context, we can bring those elements in, which Peter is doing with sensitivity to the sleeping people in his house right now, or you all would have just experienced a haka. Thank you.
Usually that wouldn't be a barrier. People would just crack it out anyway. But I have a son who's quite anxious at the moment, so he'd freak the hell out. Corryn, also, I don't know if you're aware of this chart.
It's a reminder to me to send her that, to send my students that chart. The students.
So you did what's on this chart.
Yeah.
You, without knowing it, tapped in, and this is one of the reasons I'm so excited. You're just in the central vein there. You're just like in there, and I'm really excited about whatever collaborations and co-support and whatever we can do locally. Yeah, I just see, and it's great to have you here, just down the road. Well done. And may I acknowledge your courage to take the time you needed. And that was beautiful to witness, so thank you.
Thank you.
Kia ora, Peter.
Corryn, I want to share my observation and what I learned. I feel like from the beginning, you were really taking the space to serve, same time so attuned to what is going on masterfully, and also how you introduce yourself from the very beginning through the whole, when we started, and the work you did with May. Initially it was introduced like a rediscovery session, but when you started tuning into May and you immediately addressed what is immediately needed, so it was beautiful to see that attuned to what is needed. I feel your language is also very accurate, and we're trying to extract really the feelings and the sensations, not into the mind and, you know, this habitual way of analyzing. And you always ask sensations of the body, and also when the feelings come from May, you were not trying to let her explain the feelings or talk about feelings, but rather with tears tell you, and you know what, let go of. Those are very masterful use of language, I feel, in facilitation. And also the suggestions for flows, which was also relevant for me. I learned, oh, this is a way to identify flows. when you did flow with her on the spot, that was very powerful decision to do it together. Then that healing effect between the two of you, I feel that your healing power enter into that through that doing with her together, rather than giving her, as homework. And that when you mention about also breathing in to the points, I feel also that's very powerful, which I intuitively did, but I was not making very more conscious practice. But I feel that how you did it was also masterful. And Stephanie already mentioned about pacing. I was surprised when you say for me, and I said maybe I heard wrongly, because everything you did was so perfect. Why do you ask her to do that for me? I said, okay, skip that. So all in all, really, your sensitivity, your power are manifested at the same time. The power of healing and your sensitivity and service to others came together. I feel that beautiful to see, and how your voice and calmness manifest that. Calmness with power inside.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, and I hope you can see and that this will be encouraging to others who might want to do the practicum. I'm totally excited that we can do this practicum online now. I am. What a gift to me, Corryn, because I'm totally ready to go for it. And, I'm hoping that people are seeing that the practicum is not about, did you remember everything correctly? It's about the quality and the intelligence and the awareness and the compassion, as well as the skill that you bring in this human service. This is not about a certification, for external purposes. It's a certification that allows you to go forward and manifest your gifts. So you can, like when you went through the elements, all the elements, you left out the wood element, for instance.
Thank you.
So what? That's not the point. I know the wood is one of the elements. I already know that. You just left it out for whatever reason. Who knows? That's not what I'm observing or evaluating. It's the quality of you. It's the essence of you, and it is really obvious to me that you have studied this material in an experiential, somatic, lived way. And therefore, absolutely, why would I not be so proud, so honored to have you in La Familia Tara, in the Tara family, in this sustainable health mission, really, for humanity. So I definitely, I'm just so looking forward to all of our collaborations. I'm so grateful that you are in my life and in my lineage. Namihi, namihi.
Nami kia koe. Stephanie, thank you. It has been a very gentle process, and that's thanks to your guidance and strength to hold this space. There's a lot in that, and I felt like I had that all the way through. Thank you.
So I'd love to hear from others. Does anybody else feel moved to speak? Simply unmute yourself. Yes, Joni.
Hi. Yeah, I really felt the pace was really good and attuned to me, and that your mirroring and validating of her what was present in her was, yeah, felt like you were alongside her and not engaged with your busy mind, like you said. And I felt, well, wow, Corryn really knows her stuff, you know, you really embodied it, and that felt so encouraging for me. It was really lovely. And also, yeah, I was going along with the flow with with me, and it was just felt really an honour to be in the community to observe. And the funny thing is, I just wanted to mention that I'm not at home right now, so I had to set up my little phone to see everyone, right? So I picked a random book off a bookshelf, and it's sitting in front of me with my little phone perched on it. And the author is Maeve, her name is, but you know the words May is in there. And the title of the book says "Light a Penny Candle."
Light a penny candle. I know.
I felt like it was significant.
Yeah, who's the author?
A penny candle.
And who's the author?
Maeve Binchy.
Maeve Binchy. She was in that program that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
I did with Margaret Elphinstone. The other writer was Maeve Binchy. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So I just thought it had a significance with the fire element, and light a penny candle for you and Corryn. So thank you.
Beautiful. Exactly. That's what this elemental transformation was about, May, was light your candle. Yeah. Light your candle. Be the star you are. That was a phrase my teacher Mary used all the time. Be the star you are. But also be the star in the constellation that is yours. We are all stars in a constellation, and we honor the stars and the constellation. That's healing in community. That's sustainable health. Yeah, beautiful. Well, anybody else want to speak? Yes, Susan, please.
I've listened to what everybody said, and I completely agree. And I've just got a very small thing to say to Corryn, and that is, my feeling was you felt very at home. That the feeling I had was you were at home with what you were doing, and it felt like it was yours. It wasn't somebody else. It was coming from you. Thank you. And yeah, I really admired your courage, May. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say those two statements from Susan in Wales really sum up the kernels of brilliance, because a session, just like a class, is the victory of both the one who delivers and the one who receives. So as I mentioned, I've been with May for this foundations process that we've shared, and from that experience, I saw the magnitude of courage for May to be with what was true for her and simply be with it. And the magnitude of Corryn coming from her true authentic self as facilitator, attuned to the authentic May. That is really the essence of the purpose of the Tara approach as a unique sustainable health methodology, is that it orients from authenticity. So authenticity is the main thing I evaluate in terms of how the practitioner launches the session. As one of the items on my list of what I evaluate. And what I'm looking for there is authenticity. I'm looking for the way in which the person who's the facilitator fully is aware of the privilege of facilitating. They're not there to tell anybody what's wrong with them or fix anything. It's a great privilege, and there's enormous humility in it. And at the same time, you're holding the space. And that is masterful, to allow those characteristics to come together. So I hope this encourages people. I know there's some people in the room here who are thinking about the practicum, and I hope this encourages you. And I am completely encouraged to continue to do the practicum. Thank you, Corryn. That is just a great gift to me. That now I know that we can do the practicum online, because of course there's something very important missing that we can't do in this context or during this pandemic, which is the pulse listening piece, which has been so emphasized, you know, in my learning. That was, to me, always the edge, was the pulse listening, the most important component. So look what life is teaching us. We have to learn to listen to pulse without touching. So we have to elevate our other sensations, our other capacities. So learning it through suffering, learning it the hard way, learning it through horrible loss that is unfathomable and human created, we are doing what all true healing systems must do, which is to alchemize it. So that is the nature of the TAR approach. I will refer to the programs that we have that include another iteration of women's leadership in collaboration with the brilliant Dr. Spring Cheng. We are going to be doing a free event that is an opening to the alchemy of the fusion of Spring's incredible work that you can reference in her book, The Resonance Code. And she is the founder of the Resonance Path Institute. And she and I came together as a result of climate change and consciousness, which is now fused with the TAR approach, as the TAR approach is a system for health justice, along with women's empowerment, racial justice, economic justice. We have to take a stand now. There's no choice, really. As I heard so often when I was very involved in the civil rights movement and activism at that time, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So I invite you to be part of the solution in the edge-walking ways that are possible through the TAR approach and climate change and consciousness. Feel free to contact me to join our programs and make donations. We are edge walkers, we are visionaries, and we still have administrative expenses. So donations are welcome and gratefully received in any amount. You can donate on the TAR approach website or the climate change and consciousness website. And everyone knows that they can reach out to me and that I will respond. And Mamta is sending you a message, and also to May. Thank you for the beautifully done session. Thank you, Stephanie, for giving me this opportunity to observe, and nice to see you. This woman, Mamta, I just have to sing her praises. She says this is her first time in a TAR approach program, but that's really not true, because she has been accompanying me and nourishing me for so long. It seems as if forever, that this woman is a brilliant practitioner, brilliant. I would hope one day I could match her. Her wisdom and her knowledge is beyond words, really. And it is an honor for me to have you. And it's just a blessing for me to see you, Mamta. Please give my love to Anil and to your growing family, and know that you are always free to communicate with me. And I just love you so much. She has nourished so much my understanding of Jinshin in particular. She is a genius with the Jinshin material, let me tell you. She's like an encyclopedia. So we are going to close out now. Not that I really want to. And let's close with some form of haka, some form of applause, please, for Corryn, but also for May, for the stepping forward that both of you have done. Yeah. Thank you all for being in the Tara family, in the beloved community. It's so wonderful to be with you.
In the words of my other Indigenous language in Welsh, diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege. Thank you.
And if you want to stay on a moment, Corryn, we can say a few more words as everyone goes on to their gorgeous night, day, early morning.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, thank you, May. Thank you, Corryn. It was beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. And I would love to connect with you, Fabi. I have very special connection in Chile, in Santiago and Temuco.
¿En serio?
Yes, so working with Mapuche down in Temuco.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be lovely to connect with you sometime.
Okay, can I write to your mail?
Yes, we will send a list of all the emails of everyone to the group. Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
I have a lot of notes of things to do.
Fantástico saber eso. Me alegra mucho.
Besos y abrazos, mi amor.
Igualmente.
Muy fuerte, muy fuerte. Sí.
Besos. Besos.
Les escribo. I write to you. Mm-hmm.
Por favor, escríbame.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. So, well done. Well done. How are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling. That's a good question. I'm feeling.